Most recently, I planned a business brain that collects all my data across all platforms and channels like social media, analytics, my website, and much more. I believe if you want to succeed in the era of AI, you need to collect all data in one single source of truth and put an AI on top in order to understand, evaluate, and analyze for business growth. Now, 2 weeks later, I built that exact backend. I integrated every platform, like my newsletter platform, Google Analytics, YouTube, and much more. And today, I will show you what I built, and not only that, I will also give you all the prompts, all the learnings, which cost me hours back and forth with the AI in blueprint files that you can download, as always, in the video description. The initial problem was that I was paying money for Make.com, Airtable, N8N, and other tools to collect all my data, but I just realized they are all cluttered, they are not clustered, they are not sorted, and I can't do anything with those data productively. What I did was, I just shut everything down and I built my own backend, which only cost me $25 per month, by the way, instead of paying $40, $50 for all those toolings that do not solve their purpose anymore because you can build all by yourself these days. And if you want to know how I planned and designed the architecture of my backend, I highly recommend you checking out the previous video. It's also linked in the video description. But let's get to the core. I was sitting down and I set up a DigitalOcean Droplet. And the first thing I did was I started with Postgres. The good thing with Postgres is that it scales up to billions of rows, which means you have enough data that you can collect over time, especially as a solopreneur, as a solo builder like me. And big companies, of course, do the same thing these days because it's best practice still in 2026. After I set it up, I put a hub on top of it. So the hub is actually the worker that does all the work, that puts in the data, reads the data, and makes sure that everything is regularly ingested into the database. And this was a half a day of work, by the way. If you press later on this button here, you can download all the files for this one session. It was actually pretty easy, and I had a very good progress. But then the pain started because I needed to set up Cloudflare in between to make sure that I have a safe and secure connection to my website, because I have a website which I enter to see all the data that I'm collecting in a kind of dashboard. So this is a secret domain, you will not know, but I needed to set up the whole security to make sure I can access that. And then the fun started. So the first thing I did was setting up my newsletter, which is MailerLite. And I can just tell you, while I was setting up MailerLite, I learned so much. Because the cool thing is, if you're building a database, a backend, that collects data from your newsletter, you already start thinking about, okay, what kind of data are actually in the API and flowing into my backend? And while you see that, you just realize, okay, interesting. There is an opening rate, click-through rate, open-to-click rate. So there are many KPIs and conversion mechanisms that help you better understanding how your business works, first of all. And that helped me to not only think about technically what I want to do with my newsletter and how I want to collect data from it, but I also realized that I can set up strategies, marketing strategies, sales strategies, and funnels around it. And this was actually the magic that started. And I can just tell you the integration with MailerLite was pretty much straightforward. But on the way, I realized there is something more. If you are using MailerLite with your campaigns, it is important to set up the analytics tracking. That's something that I haven't had in mind. There are 2 buttons in MailerLite that you can just press in order to enable the analytics tracking. You need also a website that covers the UTM parameters, which my website wasn't doing well. And on the way, I just figured out, okay, there is some refactoring I need to do with my website to make sure I get all the UTM parameters to be able to track the whole flow from the user. Again, all the learnings are available in the Markdown file. And after that, I just set up YouTube. YouTube integration and the Google integration are really cool. You have to do a little bit clicking in the back end, but once you have collected it, the data are flowing in, and my workers are on a daily basis pulling data from YouTube. And it's crazy what you get. I mean, you get the impressions, the click-through rate, the drop-off rate, at which time people drop off. It's a big collection of data that you get from YouTube for each video. And then I just asked Claude, hey, If I have like 100 videos and I make snapshots every day for 365 days, this would be 36,500 entries. And then Claude told me, yeah, that's right. But if you do this for 10 years, you have 300,000 entries in your database, which is not much for a database that can scale up to billions of rows. Therefore, I was relieved. But here's the thing. There are certain things the API can't do that you have to hack around. For example, if you change your YouTube thumbnail, you will not get this data from YouTube. But the hack is you can just parse the image, hash it, and once the image changes, you will get a new hash, and then you realize, the image has changed, and from there on you can start tracking the change in terms of impressions, click-through rate, and much more. And as you can see, this is exactly the personal development and the growth for myself that happened while I was setting up each tool, for hours by the way, and all the learnings that I made. The next thing is Instagram. And I can tell you that Instagram was the most painful process because the Meta backend, honestly, I don't understand what the Facebook engineers and product people are doing, but it's honestly embarrassing. So you have to click around, then clicks fails, then you don't understand the parameters to add, and you have crazy verifications. I mean, it's not nice, but I made it. But there's one issue I need to tell you. The problem is with Instagram, you can get the like and the comment count, but you cannot get the comments that people post themselves. There is a way how you do that, but for that you need a verification by Meta. So out of the box, you won't get it. The cool thing is in YouTube, you can pull all the data, including the channel names of the people who post and comment below your videos. Bear one thing in mind, if you are living in Europe, there is GDPR. You need to make sure that you are able to delete those videos too. This is also captured in my Markdown files. You can download them, and the GDPR aspect is also covered. By the way, I'm not a lawyer. This is just for information purpose. You're doing everything on your own risk. But this was my basic setup. I realized now I can collect from platforms on a daily basis, especially from the customer-facing part. But then we have all the analytics, which is Google Analytics, which is Google Search Console, and Microsoft Clarity. These implementations were pretty much straightforward, super easy, took me like an hour, and everything was implemented and running in my backend. And if you look at this architecture now, you would say, okay, great backend, Christian, you are collecting all the data, really nice. But then the magic comes. There is a PPI firewall to make sure that the reading part of the database is without personal information and personification of users. When I check information towards my newsletter, I should not be able to see the email addresses of those people with this backend. That's something that you need to take care of. It's just one or two prompts that you need to share with Claude, for example, if you use Claude, in order to make sure that this is considered during the whole process. You don't need to be worried in case you're going to download the files. It's all covered in there. But I just want to mention it because it is important. And at the same time, it is not only important for the database itself, but especially when you do the next step, which was the complete game changer for me. I put on an MCP, which is my Claude Code, and connected with this database. And this is really nuts because I just said to Claude, hey, please take a look at my Google Search Console data, my analytics data, my Clarity data, and tell me which articles are performing well and which not. Which articles are not being scrolled through the bottom. Which articles have a lot of impression but not many clicks. And I can tell you that the outcome I got, the report I got, after a 6-minute go-through from Claude was insane. I just took my first article, I changed it, which had 8,000 impressions, but no clicks. And after 2 days, the changes start already hitting Google, and I got 50% more impressions on that article, which is crazy. This is game-changing. And this was a little report I was just pulling. I didn't look at it holistically, right? I mean, I could also tell Claude, hey, look at all the data and give me patterns on my user journey, for example. I gave YouTube all my transcriptions and I asked YouTube, hey, what can I do better? Where am I standing rhetorically? How good is my English? How good is the dramaturgy during the video? How can I make my videos more engaging? I mean, you can do this all manually, but if you have one database, you can query it all the time. If you have a YouTube channel that talks about seasonal topics or something like that, you can always break that down and ask the AI to follow your needs and to follow your strategy in order to adapt your posting and your video quality. And this is crazy. And this is just the beginning. I mean, as of this moment where I'm talking to you right now, I'm already setting up Twitter, Threads, and much more social channels. And this is the cool thing with this database. And no matter what kind of product I'm building, whether it's my personal website, which is christianstrunk.com, or the product bakery community that I'm just building up right now, next video will follow soon, by the way, all of this flows into one database. It is separated by tags, but I'm collecting all my business things that I'm doing in one backend. And this is, to me, a game changer. And I just realized it helps me a lot to much better understand what is happening. Where does it start? Where does it end? You can go much further. You can feed this database also with your personal information, with your financial information, with everything. In this channel here, I'm showing you my journey on setting this up step by step and seeing on the road what it needs in order to grow further with what I'm doing. And as always, if you like what I'm doing, feel free to subscribe and download all the files because they are free for you right now.